Tonight, the New South Wales Deputy Premier questions the future of the Murray-Darling plan. And over 75 years of Scottish heritage comes to an end in Port Lincoln.
With the latest from around the region, your nightly news with John Hunt begins now.
Good evening. The Darling River Action Group says it's unlikely New South Wales will leave the Murray-Darling Basin plan. It comes after Deputy Premier John Bellario labelled it as untenable for the state.
The Murray-Darling Basin plan could be dead in the water. The states had agreed to find an additional 450 gigalitres, but the worsening drought is hampering efforts. After a Water Ministerial Council meeting in which water buybacks were discussed, John Barilaro says the plan was now untenable for New South Wales.
We can't carry the burden of 450 gigs. We just don't have the water, we don't have the capacity unless we want to destroy more regional communities.
Mr Barilaro says South Australia rejected a proposed review into the target. SA Water Minister David Spears said while the plan isn't perfect, it's the only one on the table. The Darling River Action Group says New South Wales holds the cards.
Trying to get the other states to understand that if they're not interested in renegotiating the Murray-Darling Basin Authority, then at some stage New South Wales could pull out of it.
Labor says the blame for the current state of the basin rests on the state government.
It's put a massive kink in the hose of water flows up north, and the river system just cannot recover anywhere down along the system because the water's been taken from the top.
It's not raining, we're in the worst drought, there are no inflows, unless he's living under a rock. Really, all he's doing is playing politics.
Mr Kennedy hopes negotiations will resume.
We need to make sure that if it is changed, it benefits the lower Darling and the Menindee Lakes.
Patrick Reinke, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A controversial wind farm on the foothills of the Flinders Ranges has been given development approval. The $500 million project just outside Crystal Brook will house some of the tallest turbines in the world. However, the project has been met with backlash from within the community. Many have raised concerns about potential health and noise implications. Port Pirie police have arrested 3 people in connection with the stabbing of a 33-year-old man on July 21st. A 37-year-old woman was arrested for aggravated assault, while a 22-year-old man and 17-year-old girl, both from Port Pirie West, have been charged with impeding an investigation. All 3 have been bailed to appear in court in September. The Whyalla Tourism Focus Group is encouraging more local businesses to take university placements. It comes after they teamed up with a UniSA marketing student to develop new ways to lure conferences to the city.
Interns assisting the community, UniSA business student Jasmine Belford has provided an outline for the future of conferences in Whyalla.
Well, the basic outcome for her research is that we've got a delightful city, people are friendly, but we need some extra facilities.
Students have been encouraged to opt for regional placements, with the uni working closely with local businesses to find places for them.
And if that opens their eyes to opportunities in the regions for employment down the track, well, that would be a fantastic outcome.
Mr Havelberg says the program is opening new doors to what Whyalla has to offer.
Well, I know that particular student had never been outside of metropolitan Adelaide, so yeah, a great experience for them.
Ms Durham is recommending other businesses to follow suit.
Whyalla businesses should use students, whether it's accounting, whether it's pharmacy, whether it's retail, students are available.
The report was presented last night at the monthly council meeting and included recommendations on which facilities needed an upgrade to cater for an increased demand.
The council and other organisations will use her research, and it was just wonderful to be able to host a student who was very keen to come to regional South Australia.
Miss Belford couldn't be reached for an interview. Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The final touches to Kadena's town centre are underway, with plans to have the works completed by the start of spring. Council say they plan to hold a grand opening in September.
The transformation of Kadena's central business district is making a statement. The streetscapes are receiving the last line of touch work before the town celebrates its new look this spring.
A project that's been going on for quite some years, but at last it's coming to an end on And on September the 6th, we are going to have the official opening of the CBD.
Construction started back in 2016. The ambitious town-wide project has seen roads upgraded, footpaths, lighting and green spaces improved and new security cameras installed. Council says locals are becoming familiar with some of the big changes to the town's roads, with a number of streets now only supporting traffic one way.
Some of the locals have found it confusing because of the change in traffic flows, but as we're becoming more used to those traffic flows, we can see that they work quite well.
Kadena Town Hall also enjoying a recent $1 million facelift.
It hasn't been modernised, it's just been brought back to its former glory.
Council say they hope to see the upgrades help rejuvenate the local business sector and attract more tourists to town.
We hope that it will attract more people to Kadena, the service centre, that businesses will benefit as a result of it.
Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Still to come tonight, plans for a proposed truck wash at Broken Hill axe for now. And Port Lincoln Scottish Society says farewell after 76 years. Welcome back. A proposed truck wash at Broken Hill has been delayed, despite being announced over 2 years ago. Council today confirmed the plan had fallen through, blaming a lack of funds for the project. Patrick Ranke has the details.
When it was announced a new truck wash would be constructed in the Silver City, it seemed right around the corner.
$700,000 truck wash, which will have a triple capacity to be able to clean those big trucks so that the farmer can get the product to market and then get back on the road.
It was part of a $10 million state and federal government plan to build multiple truck washers across New South Wales. At the time, the nearest one for Broken Hill freighters was in Jamestown, over 300 kilometres away. Fast forward to 2019 and it's still on paper, with road trains still having to travel far and wide to clean out. Council released a statement today saying the project was inherited by the current administration and had no shovel-ready design. Despite their efforts to retrofit the project and secure additional funding, Council says it couldn't be delivered within the $700,000 budget. The spokesperson saying Council was not willing to pursue underfunded projects which would force ratepayers to cover additional costs. Council says any truck wash would cost over $1 million. Transport New South Wales will be meeting with the council to get the project back on the road.
After more than 7 decades, Port Lincoln's Caledonian Society has ended with one final fling. They've been forced to close their doors due to a lack of members.
With plenty of kilts and a traditional Highland fling, members celebrated the last hurrah of Port Lincoln's Caledonian Society.
It's always sad to see the end of something, but I think it's inevitable. We've got so few fit members now that we have trouble getting a quorum at meetings.
The Society first opened its doors back in 1943 in Port Lincoln, but a lack of new members in recent times has forced the group to close.
We were going to go quietly into retirement, but I was persuaded to have a bit of a final hurrah, so that's what this is.
The group was treated to a final luncheon with old newspaper clippings and photos of the Society on display of their heydays. Members dusting off old clothing to celebrate their Scottish heritage.
My mother actually made my kilt and my jacket and blouse and knitted my socks as well, and I couldn't help but think of that today.
The crowd singing along one last time to farewell the group.
It's in people's heart, and because it's in people's heart, it will always be there.
Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Broken Hill Council says the 5 new welcome signs for the city will be delivered under budget. Council has lodged 5 development applications for the signs, allocating $150,000 to the project. Estimates have the total costings at just $130,000. The signs will be made out of mild steel and will be positioned at the 5 entrances to the town. Work is underway on a new memorial on the Port Hughes Esplanade. It's set to honour the town's maritime history and commemorate those who have lost their lives at sea.
From ship to sea, many have perished. Moonta's community has handcrafted a memorial to honour the 25 locals killed in the waters off of Port Hughes. The $10,000 memorial, the brainchild of a local community group.
They set out here in rough seas and were making a livelihood out of fishing. And yes, I think it's important to memorialise them.
It's a dark chapter in the region's history. The golfers claim the lives of fishermen and seafarers as far back as 1866, many of whom immigrated to the YP from Cornwall. Their ancestors have paid tribute, building the walls of the memorial out of iron and stone.
I've always been interested in the history here. Last year I went back to Cornwall because my grandmother was actually born at North Yelda in 1902.
Graham Curtis is a local stonemason with 40 years in the craft. He says the memorial holds a special place for those living within the community.
Been quite pleased with the amount of people that have walked as I've worked here and talked about, what their experiences here.
The group are now looking at an additional memorial near the town's jetty.
We are hoping to set up another memorial for people whose ashes have been dispersed at sea.
Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Looks good. Stay with us after the break. We'll have the latest soccer and netball scores from across the region. And Britt will have the latest weather details. Hello again. A Whyalla author is set to have her work published on the big stage. Rain Atkin's debut novel Hope has been picked up by a renowned New York publishing company.
It's a local novel getting a run on the world stage. Author Rain Atkins says Hope has something for everyone.
Say hard work, sacrifice, and having hope to end this virus.
The novel is a mixture of sci-fi and Greek mythology with references to the story of Pandora's box.
It's very dystopian. It's also based on Greek mythology, so curses.
Miss Atkins' hard work has been rewarded. New York company Beacon has agreed to publish it.
Was rejected probably 20 times. And then one morning I woke up with an acceptance saying, we're publishing your book.
The local library says demand is high for the book.
A surprising amount of people have come to the counter asking where they can purchase the book because they're unable to attend the launch itself, and have left a list of names and numbers for us to start handing on so they can purchase the book.
Library staff say they make an extra effort to showcase local works.
We have little bookmarks that we put in all the books for local authors, anyone that is a South Australian author, and we have a different one again for all actual local Whyalla authors.
But there's no time to rest with work underway on the sequel.
I am currently working on the rewrite for Descendants, which is book 2, so hopefully I can get that published.
Sherry Hams, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Turning to sports now, and it was a big weekend for netball and soccer around the region as the end of the season draws closer. Nathan Regter has a weekend wrap.
It was another big week of netball here in Port Lincoln, with Waybacks defeating Souths by a close 4 goals, the win securing Waybacks' position on top of the leaderboard. Waybacks were up by 8 at half-time when South switched goalies, the switch proving helpful with South outscoring Waybacks in the third quarter. It was a tight final term, but late scoring helped Waybacks cement their place on top of the ladder, winning 44-40. In the other games, Wanilla had a close 3-goal win over St Mary's, while Imperials were too strong for Boston's, winning by 22 goals. In Whyalla, it was top versus bottom, with the Roos suffering a devastating 81-goal loss against the Kiwis. True Blue had a 67-goal win over Ravens, and Warriors suffered a loss. Over to Port Pirie, and it was a tight contest between Blue Wren and Celtics, Blue Wren eventually taking home the win with 6 goals. Solly's had a 6-goal win over Port. In Port Augusta, St Joseph's and Vikings played out a tight one, Joe's pulling ahead early on, keeping the momentum going throughout the match. They eventually won by 6 goals, retaining their place on top of the ladder. While in the other match, Railways defeated the Magpies. Heading south to the York Peninsula, CMS Crows showed why they're the team to beat with an impressive 50-goal victory over Baskerville. Kadena thrashed the Eagles, and Moonta had a comfortable win over Wallaroo. In the northern areas, and Orroroo defeated Jamestown, Flinders saw victory against BMW, and Mundura had a 10-point win over Crystal Brook. Turning to soccer now, 2 goals from Mitchell Johnson helped Northern Demons to an upset 3-1 win over Vipers in the State League. While Savoy's Amateur League match against West Adelaide was abandoned by the referee in the 57th minute with the team leading 2-0. And in Whyalla, second-placed Westlands United defeated Lions 5-0, while ladder leaders Wanderers thrashed Croatia 9-1. The top two clash this weekend in a match that will have ramifications for the Premiership. And that's sport for this week. If you would like your sporting results featured here on 7 Spencer Golf News, drop us a message at localsport@sca.com.au.
Thanks, Nathan. And time to take a look at what's happening in the weather. Here's Britt.
Thanks, John, and good evening. It's been mostly fine across the region today, apart from showers about the Eyre Peninsula. Port Augusta reached 24 degrees, Whyalla 23, Port Pirie 21, Broken Hill 20, Adelaide 19, and Port Lincoln had a top of 17 today. To the satellite, where we can see a cold front crossing the Spencer Gulf this afternoon. And moving on to tomorrow, another cold front is coming our way. We'll also see westerly winds on the waters at up to 25 knots with seas at 1 metre, and the sun will rise just before 7:10 tomorrow morning. It's looking wet and miserable, with showers and rain forecast across the region and a possible storm at Coffin Bay. Broken Hill remaining fine and mostly sunny. Port Augusta and Broken Hill both looking at tops of 22 tomorrow, Whyalla and Corn both 20, Port Pirie 19, Woodner, Cleve and Kadena all 17 degrees, Adelaide 16, Clare and Port Lincoln both 15, Coffin Bay 13. Further ahead now, with the wet weather continuing into the weekend, strong winds expected about Port Lincoln and Cleve on Thursday with showers on Friday. Woodner with showers Thursday and Friday. Showers Thursday and Saturday at Whyalla looking fine and partly cloudy on Friday. Port Augusta expecting showers through till Saturday. Kadena with rain and strong winds on Thursday. Port Pirie also expecting those strong winds and rain on Thursday, looking rainy Friday and Saturday as well. Clare expecting showers and rain through the remainder of the week, but Broken Hill remaining mostly fine. And that's it for the weather, John. Back to you.
Thanks, Britt. And that's the local news this Tuesday evening. Thanks so much for your company. I'll have some updates later in the evening, but until then, enjoy your evening here on 7. On behalf of the team, it's good night.